For this channel, I like having a camera that is focused on photography. That means it has features and functionality that really mesh well with doing photography rather than photography plus video or just video. So in this case, I was using the Canon EOS M5. Picked it up used for a decent price. It has a lot of dials and buttons and custom modes, especially on that camera compared to, say, the Canon EOS M50 that lacks some of the physical controls. But I did make a change recently. Picked up a Nikon Z5 or Z5, whatever you want to call it. Picked this up for a decent price. It's on a nice sale at the moment. I did buy the kit lens, so we'll be doing some stuff with like the full setup, but also my real focus is probably going to be, at least for now, be on adapting lenses. I have a M42 adapter for that. We'll do some stuff in that situation. So there are some benefits here that I'll talk about with the Z5 compared to the M5 that I did consign. Consigned also the Fujifilm camera that I'll have some videos showing up on eventually once I edit them, but a little bit of a change to get back to some of the stuff I was doing before all the Canon, which I still have my two M50s. I still have all the lenses besides a few of the APS-C EF lenses. Forgot to mention the 30-minute clip limit to most cameras except for the Sony's, the Panasonic, I think. Canon, if you're watching this, please consider removing that clip limit from video files on the EFM cameras. I've been considering the M6 Mark II, but more so with video instead of photos. And with that camera, having that clip limit is a big issue for me, so I'm not gonna go that route most likely, at least for a long time. And I like the EFM cameras. I like the video functionality, good video autofocus, all that. They're good for photos too, of course, but with more of a video focus, that camera is pretty interesting. But that clip limit, 30 minutes per clip, I just don't want to go spend that much money for that camera with that limitation to it. So please consider removing that. It's a hassle. It'd be really nice if it did not have that clip limit. With the Z5, it has a lot of features and functionality that are a step above the M5. Gives me more options and more ways to do things. Lets me switch things up a little bit here and there on the channel. With the Z5, main thing, it's a full frame camera, so when you adapt the lenses from the film era, you're getting basically what you would get with a film camera, which is nice. Also, probably the biggest reason is that with the M5, the M50, even the M6 Mark II with the additional viewfinder, they're small viewfinders, like physically small. I wear glasses, and it's always been a challenge trying to use those viewfinders, at least for me. And actually, they're very high contrast. I haven't used the M6 Mark II's add-on adapter, I mean add-on viewfinder, but I can assume it's basically the same as M5 and M50. With the Z5, the main benefit is that you're getting a lot of functionality and features for the price at the moment. The viewfinder is pretty decent. It's 3-point-something million dots. It's physically large, so it's not much of a strain to look in there. Optics seem pretty good. That's probably the main benefit besides the full frame sensor and a few other features. It does have the dual SD card slots. I'm kind of like NASA where I try to have backups of backups, so in my opinion, it's always nice to have 2 card slots. And SD is the format that I use for everything. I don't want to buy a camera that has like a mixture of SD and compact flash express whatever or anything else, but having SD is nice. Having 2 of them is even better. It does have a flip out screen, but in this case it just flips up, which actually sometimes in photography is nicer to have than a flip to the side and articulate. I did look at various options in different camera companies, but finding a viewfinder with over 3 million dots is pretty difficult to find at a decent price right now. And I think the Z5 is one of the few. I think you need to go up to the version 3 of the A7 to get a larger resolution viewfinder. So Sony, they're okay. I've used them, you know, through my hands-on videos and such. They're nice, but also with the Canon cameras, the RP has a lower resolution viewfinder. It is larger optics than the M series, but it's basically the same panel as far as I can tell inside, and it's got 1 card slot. Technically, it's the same price at the moment as the Z5, which considering the feature differences, that's a big benefit. Other things, at least compared to the Canon EOS RP, this has a better battery life and just generally more features for more functionality. Is a joystick for adjusting your focus point, which is very nice to have. It doesn't have a 3rd dial, but you basically replace that with a little bit of different functionality for the Nikon cameras, which you hold the ISO button down and use the 2 dials. So it's a little bit of a different configuration, but still very nice. It's also nice to have a larger camera sometimes. In this case, the grip is pretty good on this camera. It's not perfect in my opinion based on my hand size. I wish it were a little bit taller of a camera. Actually, all the Z cameras are very similar in size. You can buy grip extensions, which is something I'm going to look into. Not bad handling wise, and good layout, good positioning of the buttons for my hands. Of course, nothing's perfect, and this camera, based on the price, you get a good amount of features, but you do get some lacking areas in the video, especially with 4K. You get a large crop. I don't know how much I'm going to use this for video, we'll see, but I'll definitely check it out eventually in the future. One other random thing I don't like about this camera specifically, and actually the M5 as well, they use a certain type of strap lug, which is a little hole, and then you have to use some type of adapter. It comes with little triangles that are metal. They just clink around a little bit more than if you just were to have a metal loop that has like a decent sized hole in it for straps. Definitely starting to get used to it already. Just using it in program mode, adjusting exposure compensation. With the kit lens like this, I'm not too concerned about aperture. Moving forward, I mentioned I'm going to be adapting lenses to this. I'll be using the kit lens. Maybe I'll eventually consider some of the Z-mount lenses, depending on if I decide to keep this long term. I think I'm going to look at the EF to Z camera adapters, which I see a few companies that do offer those. That looks pretty interesting. It's probably not going to be amazing compatibility wise, but something I might check out. I'm not going to get the FTZ adapter. I don't want to get back into older Nikon lenses. I don't want to go into that. I think I'll just stick with EF based on what I've got currently and what I might get in the future. Hopefully this will be interesting, make a lot of views on it, and I know people sometimes subscribe for specific cameras, specific things. I do still have the EFM gear, like I said, and I'll be making videos on those, of course, but if you're focused on a specific camera, getting help for a specific feature set or ways to use it, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, go for it, but I'm not always going to be using the same equipment. Through the years, I started with Pentax on the channel, went to the Nikon F-mount full frame and some of the APS-C and the Canon EFM, and throughout that they had different cameras. They had the Fujifilm X100F and even the XA7 for a little bit that you'll see some videos on. It's just, I don't like to focus on the camera company, more so features, functionality. It is pretty transferable between different cameras. So if you see someone do bracketing, you might need to read up on your specific camera, but you basically get the same functionality. And I don't know, I think you can learn from whatever camera is being shown on the screen. So in this case, Z5 moving forward for a while, see how it goes. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Scott for Every Bonsai. Thanks. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, and in the plus feature. I hope that helps out a lot. See ya.